Hello and welcome to Keep Middlesex Moving, Mobility Matters podcast. I am Chris Gonda, and I am joined today by my fellow host and KMM Executive Director, Bill Neary, and our guest today is Metuchen Council President, Jason Delia. Thank you, Jason, for joining us today. And if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Bill. Good to see you guys.
Nice to see you too.
I'm currently serving my second term here in Metuchen on the Borough Council, and this year I was lucky enough to be elected council president by my colleagues. And have been for a long time a local advocate for walking, biking, and safety out on our roads. So I'm a big fan of what you do at Keep Middlesex Moving, and you're a great partner to the borough.
Jason, thank you. You are a great partner because Metuchen is such a great walkable town. It's a really friendly town for commuters, for pedestrians, and bicyclists. I'm glad you're taking the leadership in that.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, that's one of our things that we definitely pride ourselves on, our walkable downtown, our centrally located train station, along with schools and general community that we have here.
I guess for people who don't know Metuchen, they don't know the Brainy Borough, as it's affectionately called by all of us in Middlesex County for as long as I can remember. We're here talking about the new law that's in the state of New Jersey about passing, the safe passing law. You were very instrumental. Can you give us a little history about what got you involved and what type of things it took to make this kind of law go through the legislature and the governor's signature?
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, the story starts out sort of tragic. Here in Metuchen, we lost one of our members of our community, Oscar Zononi, who was riding his electric trike on Route 27 in Edison, and when he was unfortunately struck and killed by a tractor trailer. I was on the council at the time, and it was one of the most frustrating things for me because as someone who is so concerned about safety on the roads, to have a member of our own community unfortunately struck like that really hit a nerve with me. So for me personally, I started looking into what I could do, what could have been done, what is different about New Jersey that could have been changed. And that's when I found that New Jersey at the time was one of, I believe, only 32 states that did not have any type of safe passing law on the books. That led me to a lot of great research that had already been done by so many people over the last decade or more. Folks like Tri-State Campaign, New Jersey Bike Walk Coalition, the Team for Safe Passing led by Jim Hunt. And these folks have been working on this type of legislation for, like I said, over a decade and hadn't been able to get anything done.
Well, that's absolutely true. I mean, there's so much work that was done behind, and New Jersey was stalling completely on this type of program. You kept it moving pretty quickly.
Yeah. So what I sort of serendipitous, I guess, I happened to be picking up pizza at a local pizza place here in Metuchen, and lo and behold, I see our Senator Dignan, having dinner. The senator is such a great friend and partner that he always tells me whenever I see him, Jason, let me know if you need anything. Don't hesitate to ask. So I took my shot that night at the pizza place. I interrupted his dinner with his wife, and I told him all about safe passing law and how we didn't have any in New Jersey, and how maybe if we had something, maybe Oscar would still be here with us. The senator, to his credit, was immediately on board. He told me to get in touch with his folks, and my wife was not happy because I got home and the pizza was cold by the time I brought it home. But we had something moving with Senator Dignan.
Well, I think Senator Delia is the chairman of the Transportation Committee in the Senate, so that helps to have some kind of extra gravitas to keep it moving.
Absolutely.
And your own personal experiences are really the emotional part of it, but the logistic part of it is implementation, enforcement, education, which KMM is very much involved in. It's going to take some time to make sure people understand it. Now it comes up, now the law has been passed, now comes the reality of facing how we change people's behavior.
Absolutely. That's going to be a big part of it. And I'm reminded of the move over law that was passed several years ago for emergency responders. There was a big campaign around that had gone on. I remember radio ads, TV ads, billboards. So there's all types of, including KMM and a bunch of these other advocacy groups are all ready and about to kick off a huge campaign to let everyone know about the changes to the law.
So tell us a little bit more about when that incident had happened involving Oscar and when you were able to approach Senator Dignan about the Safe Passing Bill?
Sure. The crash occurred on January 3rd, 2020. By the time I think it was probably February or so when I saw the senator at La Rosa Pizza. I'll put a plug in for La Rosa. When I saw the senator at La Rosa Pizza in Metuchen. So it was more or less February when we started discussing it with the senator. And that's around the same time when I was connected to all these other advocates. Through my advocacy over the years, I've gotten in touch with a bunch of folks that have been, that are in the safe cycling and walking area. And I believe Ranjit Walia actually connected me with Jim Hunt, who's the person who's been leading this from the New Jersey Bike Walk Coalition side for so many years. Connecting with them, letting them know what I had started with the senator and what they have been doing from their side with other assembly folks and other people in the Senate, we were able to sort of connect. We actually had at one point 3 competing bills going at once that all did something similar. So that was actually one of the more difficult things to get around, is combining all these bills. But what we ended up with actually was a much, much better bill than what we had worked with the senator, because the senator's bill was mostly focused on cycling, which is absolutely important. But the bill that ended up getting combined, it takes care of people on foot, people on scooters, people on assistive mobility devices. And it's honestly probably one of the most stringent, progressive, safe passing laws in the country at this point.
And it did take decades. I mean, this was not a non-controversial thing. To me, it's a no-brainer, but in some ways, it was much more complicated than that. Congratulations for keeping on it.
Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah, it was, like you mentioned, it's been going on for such a long time. And it was at one point, I suppose, controversial, but for our bill, it ended up going almost unanimous. I think there was one no vote. So this was, at the end of the day, a nonpartisan vote, a nonpartisan issue, and everyone almost can get behind.
Well, I'll also say I remember being on the steps of the municipal building with all the shoes laid out for people who had perished, for a very visual rally for this type of pedestrian bicycle safety issue. I know Senator Deignan was there with us and gave a nice impassioned speech about supporting these type of measures. So it was, and obviously your community were very much behind it.
Yeah, that was a powerful event that was put on by the Families for Safe Streets New Jersey. That event was, like you mentioned, it was very powerful, having all those shoes laid out in front of the Borough Hall steps and having the family members there. Oscar Zanoni's life partner, Wendy Kukowski, as well as a number of other folks that have been affected by traffic violence. The next short-term step is to get as much noise and information out there as we can, to let people know about these changes to the law. And those changes include essentially just common sense, really. That's what it really comes down to. When you're approaching a vulnerable roadway user, the first thing you should do is change lane. If you have that option, you're on a multi-lane road, move over to the next lane and give that user, the roadway user, enough space. If it's impossible to change lane, if it's only a 2-lane road, for instance, move over that 4 feet, give that person enough distance so that you can pass them safely. And if that's impracticable, slow down to 25 miles an hour and be ready to stop in case you have to. So these are all, in many ways, common sense, but it's now something that we need to get out there and make sure everyone understands that, because it's the law.
And I think you did a great job of narrating what the driver's responsibilities and roles should be when it comes to executing what they need to do to keep people safe on the roads. But what I like about this bill is that, in a way, it gets drivers to think more about what it's like to walk or bike or to run or to have to share that space. Aside from just saying share the road, or aside from just saying stop for pedestrians. But in regard to a lot of the promotion that's going out, we've seen a lot of media aim to tackle the message, but I think you did a great job of telling us exactly what drivers need to do and how they need to do it. So we might use that clip for other media, if you like.
Sure. Welcome to it.
Things turned over pretty quickly in regard to your meeting with Senator Deignan and your connection to our folks in the Vision Zero Network and Vision Zero for New Jersey and Tri-State Transportation Campaign and all of the other advocates and heroes who we have to thank for pushing this bill consistently and tirelessly. So we have a lot of people to thank and a lot of organizations who are behind this. And me as a cyclist, it's a huge victory for us, for anyone who uses the road that's not in a car and that has felt somewhat vulnerable. And in regard to the other modes of transportation, I think that Bill does a great job of bringing those other modes to light as well. When we think about, how people get around, it's not just driving, it's not just walking, it's not just biking. With the way development is going, we're thinking more about not just safer spaces, but how people are getting around. And scooters tend to be gaining popularity, especially in the warmer seasons too, not just bikes, but electric bicycles. So it reminds drivers and other road users how many ways people can get around our communities.
Well, I think another part, Chris, that you're very active with is educating those non-vehicle users also.
Exactly. And the education goes both ways. So we're not aiming to just seclude drivers and say that you have to change what you need to do on the road. But if we're going to walk and if we're going to bike and if we're going to run on the road, we want to be in a place that's safe for us and a place where we're visible so that drivers can react to us as well. Now, Jason, as a cyclist and parent, how do you feel currently about the safety of your roads in your community in Metuchen?
Mixed feeling.
All right. Well, let's start with driver behavior. Over the last, 2 years, I'd say, you decreased the speed limits throughout the borough to 25 miles per hour. And I think that's amazing. In regard to how cars have the ability to somewhat make up time because it can move so quickly, I really appreciate that you were able to look at the bigger picture and bring those speeds down to 25 miles per hour for the safety of all the other people using your streets there. So I guess since then, how effective do you find that in your community? What have you faced? How in regard to pushback, and what can we all do better?
Sure. Yeah. So Metuchen is interesting because we are one of the donut hole towns, right? We're completely surrounded by Edison Township. And we're also really close to a lot of highways. So there's Garden State Parkway, Turnpike, Route 1, 287, all within very close distance to us. So in some ways, Metuchen, while we are very, very walkable, we have a very nice centrally located downtown, centrally located train station. We have this duality where we're also a cut through town. So a lot of folks end up cutting through Metuchen to get from either one end of Edison to the other to go to the various highways, et cetera. So lowering those speed limits to 25 was really important for us. We wanted to get that done, and the county was very helpful in getting that done for us. Almost all of our major roadways are county roads. So I think I have 53 miles worth of roadways in town. All the major roads that go north, south, and east, west are county. I was about to get that. So the other major road is Route 27, which cuts through Metuchen as well. So getting all the county roads lowered to 25 was huge because these roads they're not made to be over 25. These are either residential areas or business areas. Our main street is County Road 531. That goes right through the center of our downtown. That's our main street where people, that our most pedestrian volume is on that roadway. So getting that lowered was a huge step for us. And then that quickly followed by the county also lowering the speed on Route 27 in the center of Metuchen down to 25 as well. And so our partners at the state and county have been really helpful to us. So that has helped. Absolutely. And I haven't had or heard much of any pushback certainly not from people in town. People in town that live here see and recognize that the slower speeds are going to be safer. Maybe those folks that we're cutting through may not be so happy with us, but it kind of is what it is. I need to make sure that the Metuchen residents feel safe and as good as possible. So that has helped. We are, as far as cycling in town, other than those county roads, most of our roads are local, sort of narrow-ish roads. And I feel comfortable. My son's 13, so I feel comfortable with him hopping on his bike and riding down to his middle school, and he walks home. If he's not riding his bike, he walks home from school every day. I am personally comfortable with it, but we could always do better, and we're working towards it. On Grove Avenue in Metuchen, that's one of our local roadways, and probably other than the county and state road, that's probably our busiest road. We are in the process of installing our very, very first bike lanes in Metuchen on Grove Avenue, and I don't want to say any date because it's through grant funding, and who knows what's going to happen at that level. But I'm very hopeful to actually see some paint on the pavement this spring or summer.
Let's talk more about that bike lane. You said there was a process in regard to getting that bike lane installed. And one of the things that I heard down the grapevine is we might be doing some sort of demonstration project for this. Tell us a little bit more about what you have in mind.
Some what I have in mind is a celebration. So this is not just me, but so many people have been, pushing for and wanting to get some sort of bicycle infrastructure in Metuchen for so long. So when it actually finally happens, I want to celebrate it. So I don't know. I'm thinking of ribbon cutting. I'm thinking people riding down the brand new bike lane. I'm thinking working with KMM to do a bike rodeo either before or after would be fantastic. The ride, just the way to get people excited about this new infrastructure that we were able to bring in through grants and get their feedback on where else do you want it? Where should it go next? That's always the goal, right? For getting feedback and iterating on design. So I'd love to be able to, number one, celebrate it, and also get the community excited as I am about it, and get the community's input on where we should look next.
We're happy to help. Happy to do it. But Grove is a cut-through street. I mean, it's not a county road, and it is residential, but it's a busy street, so it'd be a good place to have that kind of safety.
Absolutely, and our high school is on Grove Avenue, so lots and lots of kids use the Grove Avenue to get to the high school to and from. And
for our safe passing law that came into effect on the 1st of March in 2022, so we've seen a lot of change happen quickly. And we know that there were a lot of people behind the bill, and we thank them so much for working so hard to advocate for this. And we thank you, Jason, so much for joining us on this podcast. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. And we'll see you on our next episode.
Thanks for having me.
Funded by the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority and the Federal Highway Administration.